talking about people from the ghetto, that's the mindset we need to change with the parents, because from the ghetto, that's where you find talent.
Yeah.
Like you find crazy amounts of talents here, untapped talent. There is power in networking and taking risks. So yeah, but the biggest one is taking risks. You have to take the biggest risk.
Yeah.
If you don't take the risk,
There's no reward.
There's no risk, no reward.
What's happening, people, and welcome back to Concrete Stories. Here we're going to be interviewing a personal friend of mine. His name's Paul Kruz. He's a sound engineer, father, brother, businessman, and he's based here in Kaunda Square. So without me saying too much, Paul, tell us a little bit more about what's happening in Zambia in terms of TV, film, and what you're into.
Zambia is a growing industry, as you can see, both musically and with TV, movies. It's getting there. This is like it's in its infancy. Especially it seems like we are having more stakeholders coming on board, both in the music industry and film industry. So I think things are looking up.
So, how did you start in this industry?
Starting in this industry was kind of a mistake for me. I was heavily influenced by Ben Blazer. I never used to do music. I used to play football. Hanging around Ben Blazer, he was a producer and used to be like the example in our society, in our area of growing up. So people were like, you should be like that guy. But just would go by his studio. He would uh, he would produce while you're just watching and he's explaining things. But by then I never paid attention. And then some time later I started trying out on a Pentium 3. I don't want to know the speed. Yeah.
So you started producing music
Yes.
because now you're into TV. So when did that transition also take place?
TV, we have a mutual friend, Golden Maiwanga, Coin, as you know him. He was doing a TV show. It was called Nkani Amusis. Then, by then, I think it was the second or third. It should be the second or third show, Zambian show in Zambia.
Yeah.
And I remember you did Paiwan. There was Nkani Amusis, so they wanted someone to do sound. And okay, the sound was kind of a disaster. So it was a learning process for me when he said, "Can you do TV sound?" And you mentioned the figures. I was like, "Oh, I can."
Yeah.
So it was a constant back and forth. We felt a lot of QC, but there were guys there like Gilbert Chapara, but then they were patient with me when it came to QC notes and issues. So that's how I transitioned to the film and movie side of things.
Okay. Based off what you're telling us about the transition and stuff, Zambia, yes, is an emerging market, but when you look at the sound engineers that are present in this world, like the Zambian industry, how many of them are from the compound areas?
So when it comes to producers, I would say most producers are actually from the ghetto,
Yeah.
from the compounds. But for engineers, I think it's a rare thing because even engineering in Zambia is not taken seriously. Like when it comes to music engineering, only a few artists value the input of an engineer when it comes to their music and their art. So from the ghetto, most guys don't focus on engineering.
And that's important because I've just heard something you said there. What is the importance of engineering in terms of TV, music? How important is it?
From the music side of things, engineering is what glues, glues or glues. Yeah, it's so much. Don't cut that. Don't cut that.
Chizunguich.
If you watch my YouTube, you know what this. So it glues the music. It makes sure like we have something that is sounding very good and very nice for every market, every
media,
any format, and any device that's out there. Same goes for movies, and For movies, it's much more different than TV because you have to tell a story with sounds. You have to be a very good storyteller, not just a technical person, but you have to know how to tell story with sound.
So sound engineering obviously does fall into the STEM world without us even realizing it. Yes, there's a magnitude of people that don't actually have qualifications coming from the spaces that we're from, but the thing that we can look at is it does fall into STEM. What do you think the government could do, like, or the institutions, the establishments could do to empower people from the compound who are already interested in sound, right, to actually take it up as a potential degree, you know? And are you aware if there are any sound engineering degrees in Zambia? I don't know.
There's one I think at Evelyn Hon.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've never met someone who's actually graduated from there. But I know they do offer such a course. One thing I think government has a lot on their hands. One thing that they need to look at is, this is an emerging market also Zambia. This is when we are knowing things and learning things. I would personally, I would like the government to understand that music, first of all, can contribute to the national GDP, and then just then they're going to formalize our industry. And when they formalize our industry, it will be easy for people to understand everybody's contribution to the industry.
Okay.
Because pretty much it's like DIY now.
Do um, without me taking too much time, I'm gonna dig a little bit more into your story. Like, yeah, we talked about where you started in music and stuff, but what's your where you from? Like, what's your origin? How did you move? How did you start from your early school days? What's your earliest memories in what space to getting to this point where we had Paul Kruz on the beat to now where we have Paul Kruz in titles on TV, like series, that is appearing on Continental TV.
Okay, when it comes to school, one thing I've learned about it is my education background would discourage so many people. So I would rather I normally don't talk about school, but mostly who were at school with me will know I used to be a naughty guy, but I used to be in the pures. So I don't like talking about school because uh, most people get discouraged of that, and when they compare poor and the poor they see and the poor that used to be in school and the poor when you get to see my results, they're different. So what was the other part of the question?
I like how I'm avoiding talking
No,
about.
I just
So
avoid.
you are a naughty child. Let's just say it as it is.
Well, you go to my former schools, Valley View, Ndeke Basic, Ndeke Secondary. I was actually at one school for an hour before another school got me. That's a story for another day. And also a lot of schools. So there's a pathway, but I used to be one of those guys who you wouldn't find in class, but you would always find presenting at the jazz club, always representing the square.
So you've gone from being a naughty kid. He's trying to be kind to himself. Yeah. So you've gone from being a naughty kid. Somehow you obviously had a lot of intelligence,
Yeah,
right? Because you managed to pass exams and stuff and keep your career and get your career going.
yeah,
So after school, you've you've also got connections with Tanzania.
yeah.
You know, you've mixed stuff for people like Diamond Platinum. You've mixed stuff for people like Rick Ross, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Neo. How did all of that happen? Because like I've kind of given an overshadow, but when you break it down and you look specifically at what you managed to accomplish, even just within music, it's quite a big thing.
Yeah.
So here's a bunch of kids that are hopefully going to be watching this from places that like this,
Yeah.
that think that it's impossible to do some of the things you have done. How did you get there? Like,
Well, there is power in networking and taking risks. So there's a period that I was in Israel. Then when coming en route from Israel, I had to pass through Tanzania. And I stayed in Tanzania for quite a while. So I would chill with different kinds of people. And that was a period when Diamond Platnumz was breaking out and stuff like that. So through those connections, I managed to travel, managed to move with people, managed to work on big projects, and yeah,
Wow. So the power of networking and
networking
connecting.
and yeah. But the biggest one is taking risks. You have to take the biggest risk.
Yeah.
If you don't take the risk,
There's no
you
reward.
there's no risk, no reward.
So I'm I mean I know bits and about this man's life that we obviously can't really unpack in a short interview. But what would you say places like this, the ghetto, the compound, what would you say they need or we need to do, or as people, or even underrated individuals as a company, or even Gobshots as a company, what do you think we could potentially do to help more people become interested in the sound engineering side of things and not just trying to be famous?
First of all, we have come to a point in our in these modern times where formal jobs are not cutting it anymore. So the informal sector is what's making things happen. And when you're from the ghetto, it's natural that your parents will want you to go to school. It's natural that your parents will want you to be educated and want you to work, do a formal job, become a doctor, teacher, soldier, whatever, because they think that's where the job security is. But we've reached a point that the informal sector is actually making more and doing more than the formal sector. And talking about people from the ghetto, that's the mindset we need to change with the parents, because from the ghetto, that's where you find talent.
Yeah.
Like you find crazy amounts of talents here, untapped talent. Because it's different from people who are a bit privileged. They are growing up in families that want them to do something different, and they will grow with that thing, that mindset. But here, people are talented, and the only thing that they just want to make a better life for themselves and leave this place. So for me, I would say there's so much immense talent in the ghetto. We just need, personally, as Paul Kruz, I need to like find the next Paul Kruz for me. And I don't mean by one Paul Kruz, I mean like 20, 30, 50 Paul Kruz in the ghettos. Yeah. So that's one thing that unrated individuals and I are looking into, and we are trying to chase and see what comes next.
Man, thank you so much for this impromptu interview. I know I'm that guy that is always rushing and making people do things.
Underrated.
But thank you for that, because you've said it best. Like, it's not up to others to change our people's lives and our families' lives. It's up to us.
It's up to us.
So that being said, thank you guys for tuning into Concrete Stories, and catch us in the next episode.